Springboks have named their side for Sunday's Rugby World Cup quarter-final against Japan in Tokyo, and it's very, very strong. There are no surprises, and on paper, they should have too much for Japan on the day. But we've seen enough from the hosts throughout the tournament to know that anything is still possible. I'm joined in the studio once again by Herman Mostert. Morning, Herman.
Morning, Lloyd.
Herman, for you, surely the Springboks too strong for Japan on Sunday?
Yeah, you would expect so. If you look at, obviously they thrashed them 41-7 just before the World Cup. And if you look at the team that the Boks have picked, they've made it clear what type of game they're going to play and where they're going to try and dominate Japan. Obviously try and keep the game as slow as possible, dominate at the set pieces, and you'd expect the Springboks to be just too strong in those areas and for them to dominate and control the game in that way.
I was chatting to Rob earlier in the week. One thing that's certain is the Japanese public will believe, and the players on the field will believe. You know, they've beaten Scotland at this tournament. They've beaten Ireland. I was chatting to you off air, but earlier, if the sides played each other 10 times, South Africa and Japan, how many of those games do you think Japan should be winning?
Probably not one. I'd say maybe if they played 20 times, maybe Japan would win one of those. If you look at the two teams and you look at the lineups and the players that both possess, we should not lose to them. We've just got world-class players all over the park, and we've got a really world-class players on the bench that we can bring on. I think the last half hour of the game is going to be critical, where I think Japan may start to run out of puff a little bit with the high tempo that they always try and play at. We saw that against Scotland last week. And the Springboks have some really good guys that they can send on, and it's going to be, it shouldn't, you know, especially with this being a Rugby World Cup knockout game, the preparation that has gone into it, the Springboks should not lose to them. I can't see it happening.
I wonder what Irish journalists would have said if you'd asked them the same question before they lost their opening game of the tournament. But you talk about the strength of that bench from a South African point of view, and it really is incredible. I mean, you've got a situation where you've got guys like Malcolm Marx, Herman Mostert, Franco Mostert. I mean, just power coming off the bench, and you're not losing anything quality-wise when you're making your changes. I mean, that must be one of the biggest strengths that South Africa possesses at the moment.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's both like-for-like replacements. You know, if you'd expect us to dominate at scrum time, and then we can bring two world-class props on from the bench, and it'll be exactly the same. You know, we've got two world-class locks on the bench. And Rassie has obviously played his hand with going with a forwards-heavy bench again, like he did against Italy. And you know, suggest that's where we're going to try and dominate Japan, try and keep the game as slow as possible, and try and smother them. And I think we'll be able to do that for a full 80 minutes, given the quality that we have on the bench, especially for that critical half hour of the game.
And presuming that South Africa win the match, as is largely expected, what would you like to see performance-wise from them in terms of improvements? I mean, a lot's been said about the Faf de Klerk not being as accurate as you'd like to see with his box kicking. Handré Pollard probably hasn't fired on all cylinders just yet at the tournament. Are those perhaps two areas where you'd like to see some market improvement moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to win the World Cup, your halfback pairing, they have to fire. And Pollard, he hasn't been at his best so far at this tournament. You know, hasn't been bad, but his goal kicking can improve a little bit. His tactical kicking, I think he needs to, maybe play a bit more on the gain line, take control of things a little bit more. You know, he's going to get some good go forward ball on Saturday, and I'd like to see him get some more confidence, especially going into possibly the last two matches that we'll play then. And Faf, obviously, he's going to try those box kicks again. It's part of the plan. His execution has improved as the tournament has gone on, but he's still going to have to be better than what he was. You don't want to give Japan some loose ball in a certain area of the field that they can punish you. And so for those two players to fire, it's really important for us. And elsewhere, I'd like to see just a little bit better execution with ball in hand. There's been a lot of knock-ons, a lot of stray passes, a lot of chances that we've had that we didn't capitalize on. You'd expect us to do well at the set pieces, which we've done at this tournament. But just a little bit more clinical in the way that we finish would go a long way.
And then obviously Cheslin Colby had a little bit of an injury worry in the build-up to the game is included. Probably could have gotten through the game without him against Japan, with the likes of Spoo and Corsi, who are not featured in this game, very capable in stepping in. But just looking further down the line to a semi-final and maybe a final, I mean, how big is it for South Africa that they have Colby fit and playing?
Look, I think it's big. He's been our most valuable player at this tournament. And it'll be big for him, for his confidence, knowing if he can get through this game that he's fully recovered from that ankle niggle or injury that he picked up in the game against Italy 2 weeks ago. And you'd expect him to score a few tries, as he's done. You know, his defence, he's for me, the best defender in that Springbok backline at the moment. He just never misses a tackle. And yeah, for the Springboks to do well at this World Cup or to go deep to the final, he needs to be firing, and a confident Colby is going to be critical in the semis and possibly in the final.
Just a word on Bongi and Bonambi at hooker. I mean, I think it's a fantastic story. I remember in 2016 when he broke into the Springbok team for the first time. He wasn't actually first choice at the Stormers at that stage because he was playing behind Scurra and Tubeni. And you fast forward 3 years and he's starting at number 2 in a World Cup quarter-final, and then ahead of a guy like Malcolm Marx, who not so long ago was considered the best hooker in the world. Just an incredible rise to the top. And what is it that Rassie values so much in Bongi Bonambi right now?
I think just the energy that Bongi brings to that team is amazing. He's almost always seems to be scoring tries. He does the basics really well now. He used to struggle at his line-out throwing. He's really improved that. He's a strong scrummager. He's a strong defender. He's a strong ball carrier. He does all the basics really well that a hooker needs to do. Added with that tremendous energy that he brings, and yeah, he's taken his chance. Fair play to him. Not a lot of people would have a year ago said he would play ahead of Malcolm Marx, who was considered, especially in New Zealand, as the best rugby player in the world, and now he can't find a place in the starting team. Again, Bongi's, like you said, the guy he wasn't first choice at the Stormers, but he's taken the opportunities that he's been given, and it's just incredible to see a guy that play with that much energy, and he's obviously very fit, and he's a real boost for the Springboks at the moment.
And then just looking ahead to the other quarterfinals, the other one on South Africa's side of the draw, if South Africa win as expected, they will play the winner of Wales and France. How do you see that one going? I mean, France has a reputation as being an unpredictable side at World Cups. I'm not sure that applies now, given what we've seen from them over the course of the tournament. Wales, for you, firm favourites going to that one?
I would say firm favourite. I'd say favourites. If you look at what Wales have done in the last few years, they've dominated Six Nations. They won so many tests in a row that got them to the #1 ranking a few weeks ago. And France have almost been nowhere. They've been out of sorts in the Six Nations. They pick a different team every week. I still don't think they know what their best 15 is to play. They lost to, just late last year, they lost to Fiji in Paris. They've looked a disjointed team. By hook or by crook, they made it past Argentina after a fast start, and maybe a refereeing decision here and there helped them a bit. So for me, it's not the same French team in years gone by where, they upset the All Blacks twice at the World Cup, where they were heavy underdogs. But I still think those French teams were different teams to the one they have now.
Yeah.
But it's the mentality of the French. Once they get up for a game, things start clicking. A ball here and there bounces in their favour, and suddenly the whole momentum can change. You can never write the French off. Especially, they won't fear Wales. It's a team that they have beaten, and that it could be dangerous. If they somehow get past Wales, they could become dangerous. The Springboks then, obviously, if we win, we would play them in the semis, and a French team with their tails up is a dangerous one. Especially if there's been some talk of some strike between players and management again, and we all know the last time that happened was at the 2011 World Cup, when France went all the way to the final after losing to Tonga in the group stages. So they're always dangerous, but I still don't think it's the same French team than the ones from years gone by.
On the other side of the draw, New Zealand's reward for beating South Africa and topping their pool is a quarterfinal against Ireland, which is never going to be easy. Another one with a clear favourite, but with also the potential to be a blockbuster, and Ireland certainly on the day could cause an upset there. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I'd say obviously New Zealand would be favourites. If you look at the way Ireland have sort of struggled a little bit at this World Cup, obviously they started well against Scotland, but then got knocked over by Japan. I think that dented their confidence severely. Ireland have beaten the All Blacks twice in the last 3 times that they've played. So they'll obviously be focusing a lot on that, and they'll be using those games as sort of templates to how they want to play. One of those games were played in Chicago. It was on a neutral ground, so they obviously take some inspiration from that. But for me, the Irish are always, they've struggled away from their home in Dublin. If you look at other scenarios, they're not the best of travellers for me. They've never gone past the quarterfinal at a World Cup ever. I think in 7 attempts they've lost. So, and the All Blacks have, they've been, you can say they've been the standout team again at the tournament so far. I would expect the All Blacks to win.
Yeah. And then a game that I'm personally looking very forward to is England-Australia. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than some people think. I think England enter that one as clear favourites as well. But just Australia on their day, and we were talking about it again, I mean, what a good tournament side they are. Just this history at World Cups of turning up when they need to. I mean, how do you see that one unfolding?
Yeah, look, Australia obviously haven't been at it, as we've come to expect from them in years gone by. In the last few years, they haven't been the Wallabies of old, but they've shown the odd game here and there that they can cause an upset. They beat New Zealand in Perth this year. I think they'll focus a lot on what they did right in that game. But they've struggled at this World Cup for me. They've been a bit disjointed, obviously losing to Wales, which is why they're playing against England now. But yeah, like you mentioned, Australia, they're a good tournament team. They're always there, right there and thereabouts when it comes to the knockout stages. The previous World Cup in England, they made it to the final, and the build up towards that World Cup was also not the best for them, or the years building up to that. So yeah, look, you can't write the Aussies off. They would have played England. They played England last year at Twickenham. It was close initially in that game. Obviously, there was that Owen Farrell incident with the high hit, which marred things a little bit. But yeah, look, I think there's been some banter between the two coaches, Chaka and Jones. They know each other really well. So I think it's going to be it'll be an entertaining game. But if you look at the way England have played in this tournament so far, you'd expect them to win. And obviously, I rate Eddie Jones highly as a coach. And yeah, look, I'd put my money on England still.
Yeah. So you've got South Africa, Wales in one semi-final, and New Zealand, England in the other.
Yes.
But in all likelihood, we're going to be sitting here on Monday morning, and we'll be chatting about the games, and inevitably, we'll be talking about a refereeing decision along the way somewhere over these 4 quarterfinals. You could almost put your money on it now that there will be a call somewhere over the weekend where one team feels hard done by. I mean, we hope we don't see that, but there's every chance again. Yeah,
look, this World Cup obviously with the most red cards ever at a World Cup tournament. It was sort of expected beforehand if World Rugby came out with a statement saying that they're going to be strict on foul play and especially on high hits. And the players haven't seemed to have learned from that. Yes, there've been some poor refereeing calls, some dodgy ones here and there. From the Springboks side, I think we're happy that we've got Wayne Barnes. He's probably the best of all the referees out there. I think they'll be happy we didn't get a French referee. But yeah, look, let's hope it doesn't happen. We saw in the England-Argentina game that a red card can just spoil it completely, and especially in one of these knockout games, it will spoil the match. If it happens after 10 minutes, then it's going to be sad. And maybe after the tournament, maybe they have to start looking at a review. Maybe don't send the player off, but you send the player off with a red card, but you can replace him, and then you cite and you ban the player afterwards. Just for the spectacle of the game to keep it 15 against 15. But yeah, I think let's be positive and let's hope it doesn't happen. Yeah, I think it's a pity when it does happen.
Are you expecting to see the pace of the game slow down across all the quarters, and that traditional knockout rugby, guys taking their threes and kicking a lot and keeping it close and scores being very tight and low scoring matches? Are you expecting that again from all four quarters, or do you think there's a side at this tournament now who's just prepared to throw it around and play expansively and try to score as many tries as possible?
Look, I think Japan would. I think they'd obviously try and make the game as quick as possible as they can against South Africa. That's for me the only way they could actually win. If they score a couple of quick tries early on and they build up a lead, forcing the Springboks to chase the game. That's for me the only way that Japan would be able to win that game. But yes, from the other games, I think we can expect a couple of drop goals come knockout time. More than what we've seen in the group stages. I think the Wales-France game will be a tough, hard-fought game. Guys will take their chances, every chance that they get. Probably similar for the England Australia match. And then New Zealand, I think New Zealand they'll just keep playing the way that they play. You'll see tries from them, but they'll be wary of Ireland. They've lost, like I said, twice out of the last 3 times they've lost to Ireland, so they'll take the points that are on offer. But we'll still see a few tries. I think it's the way that a lot of those teams do play, and but yeah, overall. Not too many. If 3 points are on offer, you'll see teams taking those chances.